The motel sign flickered only once before going dark. And no vacancy vanished, leaving the word motel hanging in the snowlit darkness like a lie someone forgot to finish. I stopped the car anyway. Christmas Eve had hollowed the highway clean. No headlights, no music drifting from passing vehicles, no life. Just snow falling too quietly, as if even it didn't want to be heard. The parking lot was empty. Every space, every room dark. Except one. Room 12. Its light wasn't warm. It was dull and yellow, the kind that makes shadows feel thick. The curtain was half drawn, just enough to suggest movement without proving it. I turned the engine off. The silence pressed in immediately. No wind, no insects, no distant traffic. Even my own breathing sounded wrong, like it didn't belong here. As I stepped out, the door to room 12 clicked. Not opened. Unlocked. I froze. The snow crunched behind me. I turned, heart punching my ribs. Nothing. When I looked back at the room, the light was gone. Every room was dark now. Behind me, from somewhere inside the motel, a voice whispered, soft, amused, close enough to feel against my ear. You came alone. The office door creaked open, and something inside was waiting. The bell above the motel office door rang when I stepped inside. It rang longer than it should have, thin, metallic, trembling, like it didn't want to stop. I waited for a voice, footsteps, anything that would prove I hadn't walked into a place already abandoned by time. Nothing answered. The office was small and dim, lit by a single bulb buzzing faintly above the counter. Dust coated every surface in a way that suggested no one had wiped it away in years, not weeks. A plastic Christmas wreath hung crooked on the wall, its green faded to a sickly gray, red bough drooping like it had given up pretending to be festive. I told myself it was just an old motel. Highway relic. The kind of place people forgot once newer roads cut through somewhere else. Still, my skin wouldn't settle. Behind the counter sat a thick guest register. I flipped it open, the paper crackling under my fingers. Names filled the pages in uneven handwriting, some careful, some rushed, but they all stopped abruptly. The last entry was dated December 24th. Not this year. 5 years ago. I stared at the date longer than necessary, then closed the book as if it might accuse me of something. My reflection stared back from the glass frame on the wall behind the counter. I looked exhausted, red eyes unshaven, hollowed out by too many miles and not enough rest. Just sleep, I muttered to myself. That's all. A rack of room keys hung beside the register. Most were there, their tags yellowed with age. Only one hook was empty. 12. The hallway beyond the office stretched straight and narrow, carpet stained dark in places where footsteps had worn the fibers flat. Doors lined both sides, identical, shut tight, their numbers bolted on crookedly. No sound came from behind any of them. No TVs. No coughing. No laughter. Not even the hum of electricity. I dragged my bag behind me, every step echoing louder than it should have. The air felt thick, heavy, like breathing through cloth. The farther I walked, the more aware I became of how alone I was, how completely the silence wrapped itself around me. Room 12 waited at the very end. Its door wasn't closed, just slightly open. That detail stopped me. Motels don't leave doors like that. Not accidentally. Not when no one's around. I stood there, staring at the narrow gap, my heart ticking louder with each second. Something about it felt deliberate, like an invitation that could be withdrawn at any moment. I nudged the door with my knuckles. It swung inward without resistance. The room was normal. Too normal. The bed was neatly made, corners tucked tight. The curtains were drawn, blocking out the snowlit night. The small table was empty. No luggage. No trash. No sign anyone had ever occupied the space. But the air was warm. Not heater warm. Body warm. I stepped inside anyway and locked the door behind me. The click of the lock sounded final, heavier than it should have. As I turned back toward the room, I noticed the mirror above the dresser. It was covered. A white sheet had been draped over it, pulled taut, edges tucked carefully behind the frame. Not sloppy. Not rushed. Intentional. I felt a strange pressure behind my eyes, like the beginning of a headache. I told myself people did odd things in cheap motels. Superstitions. Personal habits. Maybe the last guest didn't like mirrors. I didn't touch it. I dropped my bag near the bed and sat down, immediately standing again when I felt the mattress give beneath me. Warm. Recently. My breath caught. Before I could think it through, the bathroom light flicked on. I hadn't touched the switch. The door stood open, fluorescent light spilling across the carpet, buzzing softly. I stared at it, heart pounding, waiting for something else to happen. Nothing did. Wiring, I whispered. Saying it out loud made it sound weaker. The heater kicked on with a low groan, pushing out air that smelled faintly of pine, and something underneath it. Damp, old, almost sweet in the wrong way. I reached for my phone. 1% battery. The screen dimmed immediately, as if exhausted just like me. I plugged it into the wall socket near the bed. Nothing happened. No charging symbol. No vibration. That's when the knock came. 3 taps. Slow. Careful. From inside the room. My blood went cold. I turned toward the bathroom door expecting to see it moving, but it stayed open and still. The sound came again. 3 taps, closer this time. Behind me. From the direction of the mirror. I didn't turn. I couldn't. A voice slipped through the room, low and quiet, as if it didn't need sound to be heard. Don't look. The light flickered. Then went out. Darkness folded over the room like a held breath. And I knew, before anything else happened, that whatever had checked into room 12 before me hadn't left. It had only been waiting. The next moments were fractured. Time itself seemed to splinter inside room 12. I couldn't tell how long I had stood there in the darkness, every shadow stretching and folding in ways that shouldn't have been possible. The air smelled heavier now, something like burnt pine mixed with old paper and iron. My heartbeat thundered in my ears, yet the room remained still, almost politely so, like it was letting me settle into my fear before it revealed itself fully. Then I heard it, a floorboard creak down the hall. I froze. Not upstairs. Not outside. Down the hall, moving toward me. Slow, deliberate, dragging as if someone, or something, was forcing its body against the carpet. The sound stopped outside room 7. A door opened. Then footsteps shuffled out, uneven and hesitant. I didn't move. My breath lodged somewhere deep in my chest. The figure stepped into the dim hall, a man elderly, bent with age, but his eyes, too clear, too sharp, almost glassy, reflecting the faint light in a way that made me uneasy. He didn't blink. He didn't speak immediately. He just watched me, and in his gaze, I felt the weight of something ancient, patient, and cruel. "You shouldn't stay," he said finally. Flat. Certain. Not a warning, it was a statement of fact. I didn't see anyone else, I stammered. My voice sounded small, brittle. "That's because we don't stay." He moved closer, voice still level, devoid of warmth. "We return." I shook my head. "Return what?" He tilted his head slightly. "The motel doesn't close." "Not really. It waits." The words sank into me like stones dropped in water. The silence thickened after them, pressing in from all sides. Something in the hall pulsed with quiet intention, an invisible heartbeat I couldn't ignore. My stomach dropped. I realized then, room 12 wasn't just a room. It was the entrance. And everything behind that door had its own memory, its own hunger. The old man's shadow flickered across the wall as he spoke. Every Christmas Eve, someone stops. Someone alone. Always alone. They check in, and by morning. He stopped, letting the silence stretch, almost tasting my anxiety. "You don't leave." My chest tightened. "Why? What happens?" He smiled then. Not kind. Not even human. Just knowing. "We keep what stays. Those who arrive here, they stay." The hall shifted. Doors that hadn't existed appeared, carved crudely into the old walls. Numbers scratched out and replaced with symbols. Names beneath the numbers had been crossed out, some repeated over and over. One name stood out, Miller. I gasped. My name. My family name. Written in the same looped hand multiple times. The air thickened. My throat constricted. This is my name. The old man's smile softened into something unreadable. Do you think it matters whose name it is? The motel. It remembers. And it remembers you. Room 12 slammed itself shut. Not a gust of wind, not a creak. Just slam. The sound rolled down the hall like a gunshot in slow motion. My legs tensed. I turned, half expecting the old man to vanish, but he didn't. He was already fading into the shadows, melding with the hall. I ran. Each step pressed deeper into carpet that seemed to stretch forever. The exit sign glowed red ahead, pulsing with the rhythm of a heartbeat. But no matter how fast I moved, the hallway lengthened. Rooms multiplied. Doors came alive with movement. Faint voices whispered behind them, layered one atop another. Apologizing, warning, lamenting. I didn't mean to. I just needed rest. It was only one night. I tried the exit door. Locked. Solid. Unyielding. Nothing budged it. Panic clamped down harder. My mind raced. Footsteps approached from behind. Slow, dragging. I could hear them clearly now. Wood against worn carpet, deliberate, almost savoring my terror. I dared a glance backward. A woman appeared, or her voice did. Soft. Breathless, close. He waits in the mirror. I swiveled to face room 12. It was different. The door was closed. The sheet had been removed from the mirror. And inside the glass, I didn't see just myself. I saw layers of faces, overlapping, pressed against the surface. Some were children, others adults. All silent. All staring. Some were crying. Some were smiling. All waiting. A voice rose from the mirror. Calm, cold, patient. One night. Memories surged without permission. I felt it digging into my mind. Every moment of loneliness, every Christmas spent traveling, every phone call ignored, every loved one I had forgotten. The motel was feeding on endings, on absences. It consumed despair. I backed away, and the reflection followed me step by step. Its eyes mirrored mine, but sharper, darker, fully alive in ways I wasn't. Then it moved out of the mirror. Its lips parted in a grin that wasn't mine. I screamed. The hallways fractured. Rooms became corridors. Corridors became empty voids. Time itself bent. Moments stretched like elastic, then snapped. I was everywhere at once. In the room, the hall, the parking lot. Snow drifted outside windows that hadn't been there, or had been, I couldn't tell. Everything pulsed with life that didn't belong to me. Doors slammed. Windows sealed themselves. The lock on room 12 clicked. The air pulsed with a soundless rhythm, echoing in my chest. I realized then, there was no escape. There had never been. The mirror waited. Always waited. I tried to speak. Words failed. I fought. Fumbled. I don't remember how long I struggled. The reflection stepped closer, raising a hand. My own body moved against my will. My fingers touched the glass. Icy, fluid, wrong. I felt myself stretching, thinning, fading into it. Into the motel. Some instinct, a spark of life I couldn't name, pulled me back. The room stilled. The reflection froze. The mirror remained. I was alone. Or almost alone. The guest book had changed. My name was on the last line. Written neatly. Firmly. Final. I understood then that the motel did not forget. It remembered. And it waited. The world folded in on itself. The air pressed in from all directions. Thick as water. I was in room 12, yet also the hallway, the parking lot, and the snowy highway beyond. Simultaneously trapped and exposed. Time fractured. 1 second stretched like a rope, the next snapped, leaving me suspended between fear and reality. The mirror loomed larger than it should have, pulsing with a dull, sickly yellow glow. Its glass rippled like water, reflecting everything and nothing. I didn't see my reflection alone. Behind it, dozens of faces stacked, layered, twisting. Some young, some old, all pale and hollow-eyed, all whispering my name, reciting fragments of regret, loss, and despair. A voice emerged from the glass, not angry, not loud, patient, certain. One night. The phrase echoed in my skull. Memory poured into me uninvited. All the Christmases I'd skipped, calls unanswered, family left behind. Every moment of isolation, every ache of being forgotten, it all funneled into the room. The motel didn't just remember. It fed. It thrived on endings, on absences, on those who arrived alone. The reflection stepped forward, mimicking my movements. Only it was better, stronger, more alive than I had ever been. Its eyes bored into mine. Its grin mirrored the motel's cruel patience. I realized with a shock, the mirror wasn't just glass. It was a portal, a predator, and I was its prey. I tried to move back. My legs obeyed, but the hallway around me shifted. Rooms stretched, doors appeared and disappeared. Numbers scratched out, symbols etched into the walls. The air thickened, squeezing my lungs. Whispers surrounded me, apologies, threats, laughter, cries, coming from everywhere and nowhere. I couldn't tell what was real. A door slammed behind me. Another in front. The exit sign pulsed like a heartbeat, red and relentless. I tried it. Locked. Solid. No escape. The motel had become infinite, inescapable. From the mirror, the reflection raised a hand. Slowly. Deliberately. I felt a cold grip around my throat, even though nothing touched me. I gasped, clawing at air that wouldn't yield. My own hand brushed the glass, and ice burned through my veins. The reflection's mouth moved. Say it. I shook my head. Say what? That you belong. I wanted to fight, to scream, to run, but every corner of the room, every door, every shadow pressed against me. The motel knew my fear, knew my memories, and it twisted them. I felt myself thin, elongate, pull toward the mirror as if the glass were suction, hungry for my form. Faces layered over mine in the reflection. Mouths opening and closing in silent screams. Not yet, I whispered, barely audible. The reflection's grin widened. One night ends. Always. The world warped further. Windows became black voids. Ceilings stretched upward impossibly. The carpet rolled like waves beneath me. Snowflakes from outside entered the room, floating midair, melting before they touched anything. Time fractured. Minutes became hours, then seconds, then nothing. The old man's voice whispered somewhere behind me. We keep what stays. The air pulsed, thick and suffocating. I felt myself being pulled forward. My memories screamed, the Christmases I ignored, the family I left behind, the loneliness I carried. The mirror consumed not just my body but my essence. My reflection leaned closer, its lips brushing the glass surface, eyes gleaming with predatory intelligence. I fought. My hands clawed at the glass. My voice screamed, a sound swallowed by the room's impossible vastness. My heart felt like it would tear itself apart. Sweat and tears blurred together. I could barely think, barely breathe. The mirror shimmered, and for a fraction of a second, I saw the motel's hunger laid bare. A collection of lost souls trapped in endless cycles of regret, all watching, all waiting for the next arrival. Then, something primal inside me flared. Survival, instinct, refusal. I pushed with everything left, everything human, everything raw. My body arced backward, dragging away from the glass. The reflection shrieked, not human, not sound I could have uttered, and the mirror cracked. I didn't know how, I didn't know why, but the motel paused. The infinite hallways froze. Snow stopped midair. Voices hushed. My body collapsed onto the bed, gasping. Silence enveloped me like a blanket. Thick, terrifying, alive. I looked toward the mirror. It was intact, whole, but the faces were gone. For now. The reflection stared at me silently, empty, patient, as if it had learned something, and as if it knew I hadn't yet escaped. I reached for the guest book on the dresser. My hand trembled. On the last line, in neat handwriting, My name had appeared. Miller. It wasn't just a signature. It was a sentence. A verdict. A reminder. The motel remembered me. It had always remembered me. And, like all who came before, it would wait. Patient. Eternal. I knew, deep in my bones, that the night was not over. The mirror had released me, yes, but only temporarily. It had learned, adapted. It would return. It always did. Room 12 was patient. So was the motel. And both knew that one night was enough to bind a person forever. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every creak of the old building, every flicker of light in the corner of my eye, made my stomach knot. I sat in the corner of room 12, staring at the sheet-covered mirror, listening to the silence that felt alive, listening for the whispers that would come again. And they would. Because the motel never forgot. Because the motel never let anyone go. Because room 12 waits. The morning light seeped into room 12, thin and gray, cutting across the bed in sharp lines. Snow lay in perfect silence outside the window. Everything looked ordinary. Too ordinary. But the weight in my chest told me otherwise. I was alive, yes, but alive in a way that felt borrowed, fragile. Every breath felt borrowed from the motel itself. I didn't move immediately. I couldn't. My hands trembled, my heart still pounding like a drum inside a coffin. The air smelled faintly of pine, old metal, and something indefinable. Something that hadn't left me overnight. I looked around. Nothing had changed. Yet the room seemed heavier somehow, like it had grown older while I slept, like the walls had absorbed my fear and kept it close. I dressed slowly. My movements felt mechanical, as if my body had decided to continue functioning without my mind's consent. The guest book sat on the dresser. My name glared at me in neat, black ink. Miller. A final mark of my presence. Yet a warning, too. I wanted to tear the page out, burn it, erase it. But somehow, even thinking about touching it made my hands shake harder. It was permanent. The motel had claimed its record. My night, my encounter had been logged. My existence stamped. I opened the door to the hall. The corridor stretched normally this time. No extra doors, no twisted numbers, no impossible distances. The exit sign glowed softly. Relief, fleeting and fragile, washed over me. I walked to the lobby. The bell above the door still hung, still slightly unsteady, but it no longer rang when I touched it. Silence. Everything appeared normal. The snow outside was untouched. The highway stretched straight into the distance, lined with bare trees and frozen signs. No other cars. No footprints. Just the hollow quiet of winter. I got into my car. Engine started. Heater hummed. Music crackled briefly on the radio before fading into static. My hands were ice. My teeth chattered. I didn't care. I drove away slowly, eyes scanning the rearview mirror, expecting movement. Something, anything, but there was nothing. Nothing except snowflakes dancing too slowly in the air, as if time itself hadn't quite restarted. The miles passed. Towns appeared. Lights glimmered. People moved inside their homes, laughing, celebrating Christmas Eve, unaware of what waited in the abandoned stretches of highway. I felt a hollow. Exhausted. Broken. Every little sound in my car. Fingers tapping the wheel, the radio static, the snow scraping against the windshield, made me flinch. Every shadow in the trees outside seemed too deliberate. I could feel it still waiting. Watching. By evening, I stopped at a gas station. I needed warmth, light, a reminder of ordinary life. I washed my face in the restroom, splashed water onto my skin, hoping the reflection wouldn't betray me. I stared hard at the mirror, expecting that same grin, that same hollow stare. For a moment I thought I saw it. Just a flicker, a movement in the corner, but it was gone. My reflection returned to normal. I wanted to believe it. I wanted to convince myself that the motel hadn't followed me, that the night hadn't left a piece of itself inside me. I left the restroom and stepped into the fluorescent lights of the gas station. Crowds moved around me. Children laughed with parents. Couples carried bags of gifts. Life went on oblivious. I felt a pang of longing, of being outside that cycle. But mostly I felt dread, cold and persistent. The motel had left a mark. I could feel its presence in the hollow between my ribs, in the quiet edges of my mind. That night, back in a motel on the outskirts of the next town, I lay awake. Lights flickered faintly, the heater hummed, and shadows gathered in the corners where I knew they didn't belong. Every sound, the creak of the building, the hum of traffic outside, the tapping of wind against the window, reminded me of what I had survived, or what had survived me. I didn't close my eyes. Not fully. Sleep had become impossible. I knew now, room 12 had not forgotten. It was patient, eternal. It waited, and it would come for me again like it had come for all the others. Every Christmas Eve I would feel it, a presence brushing against the edge of my consciousness, a shadow in every reflective surface, a reminder. Months passed. I tried normal life, work, calls to friends, holiday celebrations, but there was always that hollow inside me, that unease that no human interaction could fill. Mirrors became sources of anxiety. Windows seemed too clear. Lights flickering sent me into panic. I never went back on highways alone. I never drove through snow. I avoided motels entirely. Yet always I felt the pull, like a faint tug at the corner of my mind, reminding me, you belong to the motel now in some way you don't understand. And the truth, the chilling, quiet, inevitable truth, was that some part of me had stayed behind, left in that mirror. A fragment of my soul, a piece of my consciousness, had become part of room 12. I could feel it in dreams, in reflections, in the stillness of night. Watching, patient, waiting for the next time it would need me fully. Years later, when I tell the story, half warning, half confession, I always hesitate when I mention the motel. Because even now, decades removed, the memory carries weight. It lingers in reflections too clear, in rooms that feel colder than they should, in the hollow silence between Christmas Eve and morning. And when I see a snow-covered motel, quiet and empty, I look away immediately, because I know that somewhere inside, room 12 waits. And one day, it will call me back. I never went back. I never wanted to. But I know, in my bones, in my hollow chest, in the quietest moments of Christmas Eve, that room 12 hasn't forgotten me. And it never will.